Welcome to the Sun Parlour Coffee House Sessions. I'm Jan Hall from Folk Roots Radio. A veteran of the Canadian music scene, Ambre McLean has built a career around a genre-defying style and a thoroughly independent approach to her music. An acclaimed vocalist, Ambre has released 3 albums since her 2004 debut EP, Just Passing Through. She's just released her latest album. It's entitled My Heart, and she's our special guest in the studio today, and she's coming up right now. Enjoy.
This next song is called Me, My Heart and the Moon. It is the inspiration for a triple album that I put out, and I'm in the middle of putting out. The last record I had is called Me. The one that I am currently in the middle of touring is called My Heart, and there's going to be one released next year called The Moon, and this song is the song that kind of inspired that trilogy. Last night I lay awake in my bed underneath the window, me and the moon talking quietly in my room about the sun and the stars, try to make sense of our roles, being a moon and a lonely little girl. But then I heard a hearty heart knocking, setting off a lot like it was coming from the inside, pounding I could hear in my head. That's when I said almost in a shout, well, what do you want now? Well, it's just me, it's your heart again. Sorry, Mr. Moon, excuse me for interrupting. I was just wondering, maybe you and me, we could finally have that head-to-heart, heart-to-head chat we've been avoiding. Give this heart a home. Too much for one person to handle. She said, watch another year come and go. You got a bad habit of not checking in. No more your thoughts are running wild, that's not how it's supposed to go. Taking it up on yourself, going solo. Your feet are tired from all the walking. Tongue has tied itself up, it's not available for talking. Just as got one or two things it wants to get off. Lungs are having trouble breathing, they're too shallow on account of. Give this heart a home. Too much for one person to handle. Oh, give this heart a home. Too much for one person to handle. Oh, so last night I lay awake in my bed underneath the window, me and my heart and the moon talking quietly in my room about the sun and the stars, try to make sense of our roles, being a heart and a moon and a girl. Then from the sidelines I heard a tiny voice cry, was coming at me from the left and the right. It sounded a little bit like it went, why don't you listen? Why don't you listen? Why don't you listen to your heart? Coming at me from both sides. Why don't you listen? Why don't you listen? Oh, why don't you listen to your heart? Don't you listen? Why don't you listen? No. Why don't you listen to your heart and give this heart a home? Too much for one person to handle. Oh, give this heart a home. Too much for one person to handle. Oh, give this heart a home. Too much for one person to handle. This next song is a new song that is not found on any of my records. It is called Penny for the Drought. This last year, I was very lucky to be chosen among 6 other people to be part of a residency program in PEI called Ebb and Flow. And it's this beautiful place called the Dunk. And so there were 6 of us that got to go right there for a week. And so my week, while I was there, the subject that I was supposed to be concentrating on was wisdom from our elders, looking back to look forward. And so many of the songs that I wrote while I was there had to do with just how I grew up and about my family and my grandparents and my own children. And so that was the latest song that I wrote while I was there. Ground, gonna put it in my pocket till it rains. Up above, the sun is beating down. I see those clouds coming from a mile away. I see those clouds coming from a mile away. Tell me if I catch my breath, let it go again. Is it the same as breathing in and out? 'Cause when the rain sets in, I find it most unsettling. But you know I need the water for the drought. I found a penny on the ground, gonna put it in my pocket till it rains. Up above, the sun is beating down. To see those clouds coming from a mile away. Ba-ba-ba-bum-bum, ba-ba-bum-bum, ba-ba-bum-bum-bum, ba-ba-bum. When the land is still and the air is quiet, and you know it 'cause you feel it in your bones, and I'll put the coin right between my finger and my thumb until the dirt beneath my feet is dry again. I found a penny on the ground, gonna put it in my pocket till it rains. Up above, the sun is beating down. To see those clouds coming from a mile away. I found a penny on the ground, gonna put it in my pocket till it rains. I found a penny on the ground, gonna put it in my pocket till the sun is beating down. To see those clouds above, the sun is beating down. To see those clouds coming from a mile away. See those clouds coming from a mile away. An angel in the way, I know that you've been here waiting. A mother's distant cry, my woman is standing by. This is my final call, I'm in the crossover, and it's time for change to fall. Fall away. You are my family, with your branches and your leaves. These roots were planted by your mother's heart and mine. So wrap your arms around reaching, so you gotta go. It's time to go. Just let go. Just let go. An angel in the wing, I know that you are here waiting. This next song is a song called Butterfly. It is on my last record called Me. And this song was written for a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago from cancer. So all the proceeds of this song are being donated to the Canadian Cancer Society. What if everything that was had meaning first? No sense of dependence on initial cause. The ground beneath my feet would always be beneath my feet. No need to question him or her. You were asking me. There is no heaven, no hell, and either parallel. No bound to hold a fist, but I would hold one out to help. We would not raise it up, to raise it down. You find understanding by turning around. Fly, butterfly. Fly, fly, butterfly. It's not enough to want it all. Stand after a fall, no virtue, no vice. We might be mice here after all. Irreducible in its complexity. I don't know what it means. I need the recipe. It is simple, oh boy. And judge it up, drag it out by the root underneath the soul. You gotta give it up, or it takes you down. Fly, 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 butterfly. Fly, fly, butterfly. Fly, fly, butterfly. With your wings spread out, and the world goes round. Simmer, oh boy, liver and tar. Judge it up, drag it out by the root underneath the soul. You gotta give it up, what takes you down. Give it up, what takes you down. And give it up, what takes you down. And give it up, what takes you down. And give it up, oh, what takes you down. Give it up, what takes you down. Yeah, give it up, oh, give it up. Oh, 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 oh. Fly high. Fly, fly.
That's Ambre McLean live in the studio for the Sun Parlour Coffee House Sessions. I'm Jan Hall. Great to have you join us today.
Hi, wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Amber, I think I've interviewed, 3 or 4 times over the years?
We have.
Different times.
Yeah.
You have an interesting story because you live kind of in 2 places. I know you from your life in Guelph, but you're also a Chatham girl as well, aren't you?
I'm a Chatham girl, almost by accident. I'm a Chatham girl by building. We went there for a building. We bought an old church about 8 years ago now. And it was just supposed to be a Sunday drive, and we ended up with a real estate agent and walked into this beautiful building that we absolutely had no business affording at the time. But we took a 20-second clip of me singing on the stage. I sang the Ave Maria or some stage piece. I don't remember what it was. And my husband now, boyfriend at the time, turned to the real estate agent and said, "We'll take it." I wish it was right out of a movie, but we did. That's how we got there. And it was just for the building. But we've been there for a few years now. And I feel like we've created a really nice community of friends and met some great musical.
Because you have a studio. I mean, it's a studio.
We do, yeah.
Right.
We turned it into a studio.
Yeah.
So we, as musicians do, we would get paint when we could afford it and pick up some wood when we would get it from wherever. And so it was kind of we were weekend fixer-uppers until probably a few years ago. And so now it's a functioning studio. So it's Northwood Records or Northwood Studios. And we host a number of different events there. We do videos out of there. It's kind of a springboard label in the sense that we help other people get their career off the ground. So we'll do their first video, we'll do their teach them how to do their social media, stuff like that.
So the new album is entitled My Heart. Now, I didn't realize until we sat down today, but this is actually the second album in a trilogy.
It is.
Because the album before this was entitled Me. And I think the one after is going to be Moon, which is obviously the first song we heard today was Me, My Heart, and the Moon.
Yeah.
So why did you want to make a trilogy like this?
It's the idea started, I think, because I would have people ask me the question, what kind of music do you do? And I never had a straight answer. So even still, people will say, well, what would you classify it as? And I'll say, well, it's like rock meets jazz meets pop meets blues with a smattering of country and a classical cherry on top. I love so many different kinds of music, and I think I tend to write in so many different styles that for me it was a really hard question to answer. So we set out to kind of compartmentalize my styles. I do a lot of live looping, and that's not really folk or it's not blues. And then I do a lot of piano is my main instrument. So and that's not really, it doesn't really fit either. So we tried to do a lot of my piano songs, which are actually going to be released on The Moon. It's going to be kind of a looping piano record. And these songs on My Heart were a little more acoustic bass. I play the mandolin, play the guitar. And a lot of the songs have the word "my heart" in them. Just kind of happened to be, to run that way. But a lot of songs were written for other people or inspired by other people. So that was where that came from. And then the record that's before this was called Me. And that record was the first record that we did in our home studio. My dad is on the record. I hired all my friends to play. So it was very personal to what I was, to who the people I was surrounded at the time.
So tell us a little bit about the looping. We've had a chance to see you loop a little bit for us today.
What would you like to know?
Well, one of the things that fascinates me is how easily you do it. I mean, it just seems very natural.
That's so nice that you say that. It wasn't easy when I started. So Kent McMillan, do you know Kent? You know Kent? Right. So Kent is one of the reasons that I got into looping. I had an accident around that time. I was hit by a car. I was on my way to yoga, and I got thrown off my bike, and I broke my hand. At the time, I was in the middle of doing an album. And actually, I'd finished the album, and the album got shelved. I couldn't play. I couldn't perform. I had to cancel an entire tour. And I was feeling pretty awful about where I was going musically because I had worked so hard on that album, and I couldn't tour it. And so Kent said, well, why don't you try, you can still make music. Why don't you try looping? And I had no idea what that was. So kind of fast forward 2 months later, and even though I wasn't able to play piano or guitar, I was able to hit the mic. I learned just some really basic beatboxing and sounds, anything that I could make a sharp sound or something, or snapping, or I make weird instruments just to try and create something totally outside the box that I was keeping inspired because it was a downtime and I just wanted to keep making music. So that's how it started. And then I healed and I was able to play guitar and piano again, but I never quite lost that love for vocally creating all these sounds. So I'm strictly a vocal looper. I don't put any instruments through it, but I just kind of that
desire to make music that way never went away. So I've just kind of expanded on that.
It must be quite a good tool to actually come up with new songs. I mean,
It is,
you know,
it's
imagine
great.
you can make those noises
yeah,
and then
it's
suddenly
awesome.
think, oh, maybe
It's
that's
awesome.
a way to sing a song.
One of the songs that's going to be on the Moon record that's coming out is a song called Hello. And I'd spent that weekend watching Dumb and Dumber. You know, there's that one scene where he says, "You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" And he makes that annoying sound. Well, I thought, well, what is equivalent to that if you were to make a sound that you'd have to listen to over and over and over again? And so I tried to come up with kind of an annoying sound. And the whole goal for me out of that process was to turn that annoying sound into something beautiful.
Tell us a little bit about live performance. You know, one of the things I love about your music is the fact that you're fiercely independent. You really manage your own career. On social media, for instance, you often will be out there trying to engage your fan base.
Yeah.
You will often put a video up, and that's one of the things I love, is suddenly getting an Ambre McLean live video. Tell us a little bit about the importance of that to you from your point of view.
I think it's really about building my audience through engaging just honestly. Like when I started out being fiercely independent because that was really my only choice. I had a lovely manager that passed away, and that kind of ended my first experience with a manager. And we're very close. And when she passed, I just didn't really know what to do from there. And so I did my first album, which was my first independent album, which was Just Passing Through in 2004. And from there, I started to book my own tours. And I always found that anytime I would work with someone, they never did, or I felt that nothing was ever done either at the speed that I wanted it done or the way that I wanted it done. And I ended up just coming and trying to fix it or do something myself. So that's really where that stemmed from. And in terms of playing a lot of solo shows, I would love to play with a band. I love creating with other people, but it just was never, I mean, everybody knows how live music is these days, but there was just never enough money unless it was a festival or a bigger tour. There was never enough money left over that I could pay people fairly. So when I got into looping, I thought, well, here's a way that I can, at least I'm not asking my drummer to come out for $50. It just wasn't fair. So if there is a big enough event, I will hire people that I'd love to play with a band, but just feasible for me to do it on my own.
But certainly that's the wonderful thing about looping, because when we watch you loop, it really feels like there's a whole bunch of other people singing and playing with you.
I try and do it in a way that it's not overkill. I was a huge fan, and I still am a fan of Bobby McFerrin, and he's a vocal master. And I've just watched a lot of live shows where he, I am using a looper, so it is a bit different in this way, but I just found him to be, he could engage an audience just vocally with just him and a vocal and a mic, and it was so powerful to watch, and it is. A lot of his live shows are amazing. And so I kind of was influenced by him as a character and how to get up on stage and do those same kind of things just by himself. So that's why I'm attracted to the looping, definitely.
So the new album is My Heart. When will we get the Moon album? Is that next year?
Well, this is not officially released yet. I guess it will be in a couple days, so let's say it's official. The Moon is probably going to be out in 2019. Most of it is recorded. This was all supposed to come out within the year. That was the plan. And then, we were right on schedule. A lot of this was recorded. And then I had a baby. So that put everything aside. Like I couldn't sing. Everything was taking up a lot of real estate. I had no lung power. And I didn't want to be on the road. So we kind of halted the record until the baby was born. And she's old enough now that I can take off for a little bit and not have to worry about leaving her. So this one is about a year past when we were supposed to release it. So most of the Moon is already done. So we're probably within the year.
Oh, that's great. It's been wonderful to have you join us.
Thank
we
you.
have time for one more song. What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play a song called I Can Tell, and it is on this record.
Ambre McLean, been a great pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy.
There's never been another you. Me, well, I'm feeling better than the best I've ever been. And I can tell that we are gonna fall in love. It's so much better when there's two. Well, you always seem to make it easy, and you say that I do it too. And I can tell that we are gonna fall in love. Oh, I can tell we are gonna fall in love. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Nothing's ever complicated. You get me, and baby, I get you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You. There'll never be another you. And I can tell that we are gonna fall in love. Oh, I can tell we are gonna fall in love. Oh, I can tell. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can tell. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're gonna fall in love. We're gonna fall in love. We're gonna fall in love. We're gonna fall in love.